All right.
And also I need to welcome you and just say thanks for giving up your time for everyone here at iMoot too. So
Oh no,
I'll hand it over to you. Thanks.
it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Yeah. So okay, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a developer here at Moodle HQ. I've been before our teams changed, I was on the front end team, and so I've been lucky enough to deal a lot with styling and HTML generation here at HQ. And like for those of you who have built components or oh god, I see Tim is here. That's raised the stakes a bit. Yeah, for those of you who have contributed to Moodle before, like you're probably very familiar with our HTML our methods for generating HTML, which involve the HTML writer class. Which, as I alluded to before we hit the record button, just it's kind of a it's kind of a fractal of really bad stuff. It's not performant. It's hard to maintain for us developers. It's hard for themers to extend. And just sidebar, should I turn on my webcam? I don't know whether that's a thing. You know what? I'll just turn it on. Who cares? Oh god, I'm not sure that matters. Anyway. So I'll just, yeah, okay. So I'll just switch over to the second slide now. Okay, so why are we doing it, right? So as I'm sure many of you have seen before, like when we generate HTML in Moodle, we either hard code it, like just strings that have HTML in them, or we use the HTML writer class, and that's, as I alluded to before, that's really hard for us to maintain. So the idea with moving to templates is, we want to decouple that, right? Like as we add new features, as we maintain existing features, we would really like it if there's like, if let's say someone's using a table, for instance, just referencing some work that I'm doing right now, it would be good, right? If you could kind of, if you needed to make any changes to have the way the table renders, if you could just do that in one place, and it's really hard to do that right now. It also, going to templates also helps us with easy theme customization. The templates that we have in Moodle right now, they're very easy to override. So if you, and we'll talk about that later, but it should be. I'm sure themers will be very excited to know that like they no longer really need to deal with the exact markup that comes from the Moodle renderer. You can override the template, and like you can bundle templates with your themes that override our templates, just so long as like your template exposes the same data. It doesn't matter how you do it, right? Like we don't enforce that anymore. So that's a really exciting area for us, I think. Has anyone dealt with Mustache before? Or handlebars or anything like that? It's the technology we're using, and there's a link to it here at mustache.github.io, and it's a really great bit of kit. It's a very popular standard, and as to why we chose it, oh god, yeah, only when you run out of razors. Okay. Wish I had your problems. Sure. As to why we chose it, well, I wasn't the one that chose it. My dev manager, Damien, he did most of the big push on it, and here I am taking credit for his work. But here's why it's good, right? It allows our PHP and our JavaScript to use the same templates, right? I mean, how many times have you, like, let's say that you're let's say like you're like my colleague Adrian, like maintaining the database module. Let's say, what was it, lesson? Yeah, it was lesson. Sorry, it was the lesson module. Let's say that you're maintaining like the lesson module, and you wanted to render like the existing saved state, but you also want to of that module, but you also want to allow users to add and remove nodes and stuff and drag them around. So you've got a situation there where you have HTML coming not only from I was making a very I was waiting for this. That's a very good question, Tim. We will get to that. But in this case, it's early days, but what we're looking at is a really big reduction in function calls. So that alone should account for some things. Of course, there are going to be some hiccups that we will discuss, like points of concern later, particularly as they relate to tables. But yes, I'm not about to like just like hang like a sign on this saying it's a panacea. Like obviously, like we can't simply just like be going on blind faith that it is more performant. But on components where we are replacing existing HTML writer usage, I would be very considering how many people use Moodle, it would be really, really dumb to push issues without numbers like saying that yes, this is more performant. So I wouldn't be too worried. Anyway, back to I hope that I can assuage your concerns until the questions part of the meeting. Okay. All right. So yeah. So what we're looking at here is a great opportunity for sort of like a design once, cut once kind of architecture where you don't need to write your PHP to generate exact markup one way and then write your JS to like generate dynamic markup in exactly the same way. You can have your code in both places running the same template, which helps with maintainability and readability and all that good stuff. And as I alluded to before, like that skeleton markup, you can override that on a theme, on a per theme basis, and it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. I just want to take a little bit of time to plug trymustache.com. There's a demo on the official Mustache website, but I like trymustache.com because it really allows you to sort of like see as you type like what your templates are going to end up looking like. So I'm just going to open up screen sharing and just kind of show you what I'm dealing with now. Sorry if you'll bear with me. 1 second. Okay. I'm just trying to open a template for you. Yeah, let's grab a simple one, maybe. Sorry, it occurs to me I have the wrong window open. Templates. It's gone off somewhere. Yeah, okay. I'll just modify one of the existing ones. Hold on. So I'm going to show an excerpt from our new HTML table template. And I'll just grab a context. So we have this concept of templates and contexts, right? So a template is the you can think of the template as the presentational layer, and the context is just the data.
So Jetha, just jumping in, don't know if you're trying to share your screen, but it's not being shared right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just preparing to share my screen. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Is there a recommended resolution that I should be doing this at? I just don't know if things will be absolutely tiny or something. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Give it a go, and we'll see.
Oh, geez. Well, I just clicked the share screen thing, and I realized that Chrome doesn't support Java anymore. So I'm just going to come back in Firefox, or maybe I'll actually. You know what? No. Let's skip that. Let's skip that. I apologize, and let's start talking about the underlying architecture. So, next slide. Okay, here we go. So we have this new templatable interface, which lives in lib output components, and it just consists of a single function that you can implement in your renderables. And basically, what it does is you call it from a render function, and it returns either an array or an object, something like a data context that can be passed and combined with your mustache template. We have the templates in question. They, if you've got a copy of 2.9 on you, like they currently reside in lib templates as mustache files. There's not much in there to begin with in 2.9, just a basic implementation of Pix icon and some notifications. But the notifications are actually a really good example to use when we talk about how you can override the markup that's being generated. Yep. Yep. I really wish I could share my screen. Yeah, we haven't actually tried with a plugin yet. Sorry, with a module. We're currently still working on core stuff. Like we're currently working on a template library, which will contain lots of little sub components that you can use. But as to what the exact syntax will be for plugins, I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, Tim. But I hope to have one soon. Yeah. Don't suppose you could give me a bit more information though. What do you mean by in a plugin? Like if are you talking about? Oh yeah. Actually, yeah, that would be right. Sorry, yeah. That path that you've suggested, mod/quiz/templates, would be fine. Oh, I really wish I could. Yeah, that should. Yeah. I mean, it would be silly if we required you to put it in lib templates, because mod quiz is a core plugin, but like if we required everyone to have like a two-step thing with your plugins where it's like grab your plugin for the plugin DB and then just put your templates in lib, that would be really dumb. I don't suppose anyone would bear with me as I come back in on Firefox. It's a bit silly not being able to show you how this is working. Yeah, many apologies, guys. Sure. Wonder whether it'll let me be in two places at once. Hold on. I apologize for this. This is just, yeah. That's a really good question. I was completely blindsided by that. Yeah. Oh, Nadav's here. Oh, great. Hi. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Nadav is one of our, he maintains a lot of the RTL stuff in Moodle. So I think he's still waiting on a peer review for me. So I should run. But okay. All right. Sorry, I'm about to come in. Sort of, yeah. So that's all what I can talk about with regards to structure. I guess now I can just kind of walk you through how notifications work in 2.9, and how they're dealt with in Bootstrap Base and how they dealt with in Base, and how that, like what that means for themers. Like if you were wanted to do if you wanted to do custom things in, I don't know, Aardvark or something. It's 2015. Okay. in theory, it should let me in now. Is that an actual tip, John? That's great. All right. So maybe I can share my screen. Oh, it has me here as a guest. So if I quit out of here on Chrome, maybe it'll be okay. All right, I'll be right back. All right, here we are. Ah, yes, and now I can share my desktop. So good. Okay, let's share my desktop. And just got a gray screen. It tells me I'm now sharing my desktop, which should be good. All right. Okay, I guess people can see this now. Hooray! Yes. Okay. I could ask someone to give me with a mic to give me a bump or something whenever they can't see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna quickly go to my laptop. I'm gonna go to this presentation thing here. So this is an instance of 3.0 dev that I'm working on right now. As you can see, it's completely fresh. And I'm just going to go into the development section, template library. Okay, so the template library, this will show you the templates that currently exist within Moodle. We have 4 templates now for notifications. This allows you to have, well, sort of on a per template basis, have different markup if you really choose. You don't need to just like pass in a class or something. Like we didn't really want to cramp your style that much. So if you look at the let's have a look at notification success. As you can see here, it's rendered the template here, and it's with this context here. So this context here, it's given in JSON format. So it's just a key value pair message with value your pants are on fire, and then that goes into the template there, rendering as your pants are on fire. I'll just bring up the markup of I'll bring up the template which does that for you. Let me just bring this up here. And it's here. Okay, so here's what a Moustache template currently looks like in 2.9. So you can use these templates as templates for your own things. Oh yeah, sure, okay. Just let me. That's not what I wanted. Is this better, Tim? Should I go further? All right, cool. So here's the standard license, which you're all very familiar with. This is all very important. So here, this is a core template. So we're using core to begin with, and notification success, and we're telling people what's required in here. And this example context is this is the data that is going to be combined with this template inside the template library. So I could modify this to say something like I have nothing wrong with a little bit of barefaced flattery. save this. No, change the context style of Moodle, and then here, when I test out that module, you'll see here. I don't know if you can see the font size on here, but let me just blow it up. You'll see here now that it's rendered using that changed context. I was trying to give a plug earlier to a sort of like try as you write thing called trymustache.com. So now I've got the chance to actually do that. So it's this great thing here. You see here that we have a template on the left, context in the middle, and the resulting output on the right. If you can see this, shall I increase the font size again? I'll increase it again. Okay. Now, we're obviously not going to get fully into Mustache syntax, but there's a lot of really great stuff you can do here. Like, let's say, like they're technically logicless, but you can do things like logic negation, like this syntax means what do I do when there are no contacts? Then I delete that. So it's a really powerful way of generating markup, and the really great thing is that these templates they can be included from within other templates. So we have a I'm currently in the middle of going through Moodle components and trying to templatize them and like creating sort of like a list of best practices, which we'll talk about. Maybe I can just bring up the document now. Yeah, hold on, it's still untitled. Yeah, so what we're yes, it's going to be really good for that, Nanav. It's going to be really good for that. I mean, what we could do is, well, I probably shouldn't swear in my notes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll just grab the table branch, and I'll have a look and kind of show you what's being done there. Oh, I'm already on it. Sweet. Oh, love it. That's great. I love it when that happens. As to when RTL has been a challenge, if I can just take over answering that, I've personally found it's been really hard for people when they write their styles to kind of know intuitively once it's like, for better or for worse, a lot of our devs, they write the LTR first, and then when it comes time to write the RTL, like people can kind of overlook certain styles that exist, that need to be overridden for RTL. So what I've been trying to push as part of our guidelines has been like writing common styles first and keeping LTR styles separately. And then when you write your RTL styles, for every single LTR style that you wrote, you have to write an RTL style, if that makes any sense. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, let me just go to development in template library. Okay, so we have some. I should stress that this is not up for peer review yet, for a pretty good reason. But so we have here like a good demonstration of a multiple layered template. So we have this, so a table cell template, right? Where you pass in the content of the cell, whether it's a TD or a TH, and and a list of attributes, as you can see here from the context, and what the actual template looks like. If I can just quickly open it. So it looks like this, which probably looks like a mess. Probably looks like a mess, but I'll just explain this. And if you want to follow along, I'll just paste this into the chat so you can try it on trymustache.com. So here's the template, and here's the context. Sorry if that's messy. I'm just gonna, oh God. And what's great about this is that as we modify the context, we can kind of see what's happening to the generated markup. Or you could, if that thing didn't scroll off the side of the whatever. So to begin with, I guess let's just start with I'm a table cell. And that's the only thing we've provided in the data context. So the template is going to assume, hey, like you didn't provide me with the type, so I'm going to assume that I'm a TD. That's what the beginning of the template says. That's what all this, if I can just kind of break this syntax down for you. I'm just going to paste it in the chat just for, actually, you know what? I should really just have it up on a, I'll just open Keynote and paste it in here maybe. Yeah, okay. So what this means is when there's a type, when there's a type key in the object, like that's, when there's a type key in the object, that's what this hash type means, include it just there. But if there isn't a type object, that's what this thing type means, then default to TD. So if I were to, in my try mustache screen, if I were to say type TH, you'll see now that I have a TH on my table cell. Is there any questions at this point? I mean, like we could do questions at the end, but like if you've got things that you think of as we go through, it's always good. You could require it, but I guess, and I'm still kind of thinking what the best practices would be. But my justification there is that with tables, when you send a lot of data, like I'd really rather like there be some sort of sensible default, and then you just only specify it when in the edge case where it is a header. As to why you would have a bool, yeah, like there's different ways of doing it. I mean, like the best practices will evolve, and they are still in the process of evolving. But yeah, like that's a good point. Maybe you could use a bool. They do like keeping logic out of these things, though. Yeah, so that table cell template is really, without looking at those templates, Nadav, I wouldn't be able to tell. But one thing that we are looking at going through, like now that this template functionality has landed, one thing that we're looking at doing is going through and templatizing as much of Moodle as possible. That's a very good point, Tim. What we're trying to do here with the table is that, like, the table cell by itself is not useful. Like the table row by itself is pretty useful because HTML table and flexible table both incrementally render their rows. When we were talking about performance earlier, that's one thing that immediately came to mind. We've been a bit concerned because the paradigm is shifting from incrementally rendering markup to building up huge objects of state, shoving them together with the template inside of Mustache and hoping that Mustache can handle it. That's not really a great thing. So we don't want that to always be the case. So incremental rendering has its place, which in this case, which is why we have table row. But we don't have numbers for you just yet, which I apologize for. Maybe we'll have better numbers at the actual moot. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I could tell you some horror stories from that. We've been doing some work on the partners side, just lots and lots of invoices. But anyway, so you'll see here that this HTML table row template, which has a more complicated context here. You see here that it contains an array of cells. Now, and you might think, oh, like, this is probably not great because, like, I don't want to have templates in line, right? But if we look at the actual row template and the syntax that's being used there, let's just open it up for you. I mean, the header part, the actual opening of the tag is very similar to the way that we do a cell, but you'll see here that we have this syntax here on lines 60 through 62. I don't know if you can see that. Oh God, I removed it. Yeah, so this syntax basically means when we have a key in our object called cells, and it's an array, for every single one of those objects inside that array, I want you to pass that object as a data context to the HTML table cell template. You see how that's being included here? So in this way, we can kind of like not inherit so much as like we can build our templates by way of composition, right? So an HTML table. That's sort of a mustache. Yes, you're very right, Tim. You're very right, Tim. That's sort of a mustache limitation at the moment. It's actually kind of really hard to iterate over key value pairs in that way. Yes. I if I could frown that deeply, I would. I'm just cursed with an unnaturally jovial face, I think. But yes, it's kind of a real shame. But yeah, in this way, we can build our templates up from little building blocks, right? So if you had like going all the way down to like say Pix icon or something, you could with a template for that you could include it from something else. Yeah, exactly. We could build it from that. You can build it from that. We don't actually generate JSON in PHP. It's actually the mustache handler just expects like either an array or PHP object, so you don't need to worry that much about like string manipulation or anything like that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But yeah, just with that theme of including and composition and everything, like in that way, with this HTML table example here, this table here, that's a good question, John. I haven't actually looked that much at the internals. That's probably a question for Damien, but that's a really good question. I should really have that answer just here. So this table here is it's an HTML table. I've emphasized sort of keeping the existing API for generating it. It's just the renderer instead calls the mustache templates and generates this based on those three templates. The example context for this is a little bit messy. It's a little bit huge, really. But yeah, it like the value in being able to generate an HTML table like this instead of the way that we currently do it using the static table method in HTML writer, that should really speak for itself. I'd like to pivot to talking about how this affects themes, if that's okay. Do you have any questions? Yes, we do use the HTML table class. This is created using the HTML table class, but there's a method in HTML writer. I think it's HTML writer : table, which takes an HTML table as a argument, and that generates the HTML for it. If that makes any sense. I've got tables on the mind. But yeah, if no one has any more questions about how you can include tables and like how you can include templates from other templates, then I guess we'll talk about how you can theme these things. Okay. You just got it. You just got it. Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's called mustache because if you kind of like tilt your head a little bit, like those curly brackets look like mustaches. I did not name it. I did not name it. So I have here on my screen here. Can you see this okay? Yeah, handlebar mustache. That's right. I have here on my screen here the notifications, the success notification mustache template. You'll see here that we have included in the template, we have included the CSS classes from Bootstrap, alert and alert success. Yes, I know I can feel eyebrows twitching over the internet, but don't worry, this is done for a good reason. One of the best practices that we're thinking of is sort of removing, minimizing the number of CSS classes that are emitted by PHP, right? Like you can put CSS classes in your mustache templates because the mustache templates can be overridden by whatever theme, but we don't want the PHP components themselves to be particularly opinionated about what their classes are called. I realize that could be a little controversial, but I don't know if there's any themers watching this, but if you've ever tried to theme something that was built with Bootstrap 2 or like our existing CSS, basically you can expect the classes to still be present, to still be present and still be targetable. It's just that they will be coming from templates instead of coming from PHP. What this means, if you see this. If you see this mustache template here, I'm just going to open the base equivalent, which is in theme, base, templates, core, notification success, and you'll see here that this template here uses the old extant Moodle 1.x CSS classes. So let me just sort of pull this up here so you can look at them side by side. Yep, that's definitely a concern, Tim. For those of you who can't see the chat, Tim was talking about combinatorial explosion here. Just for notifications, we have 4 templates when we could have 1. Yeah, I kind of have take issue a little bit with notification being the simplest template we could have. Notifications in Moodle are actually a bit more complicated than that. Like there are 3 classes that could kind of be condensed into one, but like you have redirect notifications, which have completely different styles, and I'm sorry, I'm getting the shivers just thinking about it. But basically, in the past, we erred too much on the side of flexibility with regards to letting people call the notification function and tacking their own classes on the end. I should probably emphasize that this isn't a change. This is not a change, Tim. This is actually just what's been happening since 2.7 or something. It's just that it comes from a different place now. It used to come, this distinction used to be in the renderers, right? So let's say that you, let's wind back the clock. Let's say that you were told that you were part of the initial Bootstrap 2 migration. It occurs to me that you probably were. That was before my time. But anyway, let's say that you were doing that, right? The old way would have been to override the renderers, override the notification function in your renderer, add the classes there, and and then you would be good. But the problem, of course, is that that creates an expectation in the Moodle community that all of our theme developers know PHP. Not only do they know PHP, but they also know how Moodle is structured, which that's a bit of a chilling effect, don't you think? I mean, like, we shouldn't really, like, the people that know how to generate great markup and great styles and stuff, are they also usually the people that know how to write really good PHP? In this way, like, so in this way, all a themer has to do is, in their theme, like, they should be, but I think we both know in practice that they're not. They should be, but in this way, a themer, particularly from outside the Moodle community, like, who's been using Mustache and handlebars, whatever, like, if they're like an Ember developer using handlebars, or coming from the Angular world or whatever, like, this is a contemporary web technology that's very well understood, and they can come in and very easily, I don't have numbers for you, but anecdotally it's a lot. I know the plural of anecdotes is not data, so don't get too angry with me, I hope. But this looks like markup. It is markup. Like, it's so easy to change the class of a successful. We're gonna go in circles on that, though it feels to me that you're gonna beat me up at the moot. So maybe let's not talk about that. No, it's all right. It's all right. It's a good concern. It's a good concern, but like, there's lots of different ways of thinking about it. Anyway, with regards to, yes, it's what Matthew is saying. It's that it's easier to deal with, rather than overriding a renderer. You don't need to touch PHP to theme Moodle anymore. Like, you can just override the template. So that is the idyllic future, but I don't know whether, but which it isn't quite there yet in 2.9, but we're hoping for it in later. I mean, all the infrastructure is there for you to start writing templates new templates today. Like, if you wanted to write a plugin which uses Mustache templates for 2.9 and above, you can do that today. That's no problem. Core Moodle obviously lags a little bit, but it's going to be really good when it's done. Yeah. I for one wish I had more data for my claims. It's spurious. That's an interesting word. At this point, I'd like to open it. Oh, there are some security issues, but they're not particularly. I mean, it'll take some exploration, I think, on the part of HQ and the community to better understand it. But the Mustache syntax allows you to sort of specify, like, what strings you want escaped and what strings you do not. Aside from that, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but that doesn't mean that they necessarily exist. Yeah, like, we'll have to. I will admit to not knowing as much about security as I maybe would like to, but it is definitely a concern. We're not just going to sweep it under the blanket. Like, I mean, that's one good thing about our development culture, right? I mean, if I try to do anything dumb, whoever peer reviews and integrates and whatever is going to call me on my stuff. So it's just, so I wouldn't be majorly concerned. At this point, yeah, I don't really have much more to say other than to point you at particular issues on the tracker. No. What do you mean by that, Matthew? The question is, do you add get and post to Mustache templates? Right. Okay. I'll admit to saying that I haven't tried. I haven't tried in that particular context. Most of the templates that I've been writing as part of this exploration. Yes, yes. Well, as Tim correctly highlights, that we don't access that. That's actually grounds for immediately failing a peer review. I'm pretty sure. With regards to performance issues, Damien, I haven't looked at the numbers myself, but Damien assures me that that it all goes through opcache. It's, you know, if you call a template with the same parameters each time, like you'll generate it the first time and then just grab the cached result the next couple of times. So I mean, that's good. Yeah, as we do the templatization, I'm just now talking about the work that I'm doing now on 3.0. It is possible, yes, and we're going to do that. Just as we're doing it, we're gonna build test harnesses and see whether we can like build some pathological cases, because a lot of our testing, it's very usability focused and like functionality isn't broken focused, but considering exactly how much is going to change, we definitely do need to think about performance. Just if you'll just bear with me, I'm just going to quickly open up the tracker issue, an interesting tracker issue I might point you towards. 50148. Okay, so we have this tracker issue called MDL 50148, which is a large epic involving moving from renderers to templates. You can see some preliminary work in here. That's we're veering away from 2.9 now, but there's some preliminary work in here with regards to what templates are going to be made, what things are going to be made available. I don't know how many people in the thanks for that, Tim. I forget that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how many people are familiar with a bit of the controversy we have about what version of Bootstrap we're going to move to next. The general approach that I think we're going to take is templatizing and like decoupling Moodle from as many Bootstrap 2 things as possible, so that if you want like as different themes and templates sort of like rise and fall, like you should be able to write templates that target those frameworks easily without having to wait for HQ support. Because I think someone raised when we were having the discussion that if we were to support directly, if we were to just port everything in core to Bootstrap 3, by the time Moodle 3.0 lands, Bootstrap 4 will come out, and I don't know whether we can really match that kind of release cadence. At this point, it really feels like I'm rambling, so let's just, I guess, I'll just respond to as many questions as you're willing to give me at this point. Do we have any questions? Yes, I remember that. Tim. We're actually thinking about redoing the way that the Pix icon template is handled now. Yes. I wouldn't worry too much about that, simply because as we redo Pix icon, we are going to write those performance harnesses. There are some interesting things being thought of with regards to allowing people to use different icons for Pix icon. Like the current architecture with Pix icon is, yeah, of course. The current architecture involves, it's really kind of hard to match a Pix icon to whatever you're going to replace it with in a theme. There are some things like for font awesome and stuff in the plugins DB, but the way that they're sort of being forced to do it is not really how anyone would want to do it. I feel so. Just as we think about how we're templating things, I'm thinking a lot about using like data attributes on Pix icons, so that you can target the resulting markup. Like you could do something like I'm just going to open Sublime. Oh God. Yeah. Oh wow. I actually had one of these open. Sweet. Here's one I prepared earlier. Yeah. So I apologize for the lack of syntax syntax highlighting. Here we go. There we go. All right. So what I'm thinking is something like this. It'll probably won't look like this. Maybe it'll be like span. And like if you could do something like that, where where the bootstrap, sorry, not the bootstrap, where the mustache template would provide you with data component and data picks. That way, if you did it this way, then you could instead of having I don't know if anyone's seen like the font awesome plugins that I alluded to earlier, but they have like a hilarious associative array between like what Pix icon is being asked for and what they want to map it to. This way, you could just do it in CSS. Maybe that's a good question. It seems a bit patchy for now. It's all very speculative. It's all very speculative. Yeah. With regards to the testing based on a server tuned like a real server, yeah, I have. We've been thinking about that a lot. Certainly, like running tests in a VM on my MacBook is not necessarily going to be representative of, say, I don't know, the Open University. That's true. I mean, it's an interesting inflection point that we're at, where we're thinking a lot about like what the best thing to do is. Like, if I can show you like some work in progress that I've been doing on tables. I'm sure you must be sick of tables by now and hearing about them, but we have. Wait, no, that's the presentation. Okay, so we have a wrong file. So web output components. Just as part of the process, like we're thinking a lot about like not only matching the existing API, but matching it in a way that makes sense. Like this function here on line 1503 in output components.php, like this is a rendering function with side effects. We're instantiating stuff. There's so much use. There's so much hard-coded HTML in here, which is just ghastly and hard to maintain. But you know, we can't, for better or for worse, we can't kind of blank sheet of paper design a lot of this stuff. Like we have, like here in this we're now looking at the template-based table functions. I mean, this function is so long because I'm trying to match the existing. I'm trying to be as backwards compatible as I can to understand the problem space first. Before, I can't be arrogant about writing new things and think like. And think like that I'm gonna know ahead of time like every single way that a table is used in Moodle. That's just ridiculous. Like I'm obviously not saying that you're arrogant or anything, but like I mean I can't afford to make that kind of mistake personally. So yeah, a lot of the time it it's a great opportunity to think about things in Moodle, like why they are the way that they are, and if there's a way to sort of maintain backwards compatibility, because regardless of whether or not it is the time, like you kind of have to maintain that backwards compatibility for at least 2 releases, while at the same time being more performant and making more sense. Like one thing here that I'd love to do with the table is to sort of obviate the need for this really long export function, because it doesn't make sense to me that you have to do this kind of processing every time you render. Some of this stuff is just plain ugly. Like it would be great. Yeah. Right. I can't really speak to 6 years ago, Tim. That's yes. But I guess everything is incremental. But one thing that's really good about the Mustache engine as integrated into Moodle is that this export for data function, like if your class has been built, I hesitate to use the word correctly, but like if your class already contains the keys that the Mustache template expects, you could just pass the instance to the Mustache template. You wouldn't need to instantiate any objects. You wouldn't need to this function, which is just getting your ducks in a row. Like you could just immediately pass your class to a template, which I think is the kind of platonic ideal we're striving towards here. Do you have any other questions? Oh yeah, certainly. I had no idea that it was like that. How do I pass you the conch? Oh, there you go.
I only asked because I thought it'd be rude to just jump in.
Oh, of course.
So at the moment you're starting at the kind of low end with things like tables and icons and notifications, and that makes quite a lot of sense. I mean, that's a sensible place to start.
Yeah, I can't take too much credit for deciding to start there. I was actually seconded to the partners team for a couple of weeks there, and working a lot with flexible table has kind of opened my eyes as to the kind of work that needs to be done in that area. So I figured, while it's still fresh in my mind, it'd be a good thing to do.
I think I think you already kind of mentioned that you needed to do this earlier in the talk, but it would be good to take a real kind of bit of front end. I think you mentioned lesson, but something complicated and show how end to end you can render it all from.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about this a lot more at the Australian Moot. Giving another presentation for which I hope to be better prepared.
Yes, it'd be lovely if I could be in Australia, but sadly I can't make it.
Hopefully you'll be there in spirit and perhaps online.
No, I mean the particular so I would like to see something end to end, and the particular challenge I would like to see someone take on is multiple choice question.
Multiple choice questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Within the quiz module, yes.
Well, no, questions are a separate.
Oh, in the question, yes, of course. I forgot.
The point is that it's very easy to say keep the logic out of rendering, but questions really test that, because depending on the state of the question and what options the teacher has seen about what the student's allowed to see, there is lots. There are lots of conditional stuff.
Of course.
And, the design, when this went to renderers, as I say, about 5 years ago, I worked really hard to try to keep the logic out of the renderer class and in other places. But even so, it's complicated, and that would be the kind of killer test. If putting multiple choice questions into templates made it look nicer, that would really sort of validate.
Yeah, I'd be really excited to do that personally. I'm in a bit of a unique situation right now, a bit of an outrider, like looking for low-hanging fruit. I realize I've mixed metaphors there a little bit.
But that's really proving that the whole thing hangs together end to end, and it doesn't just.
Of course.
low-level components, but it really works.
Of course.
As a big thing that's an aggregate, because a question has various bits. So you'll have lots of templates calling other templates.
Yeah. A lot of that's actually been one of the things that's been, I hesitate to say, slowing me down. Like the way that I've been thinking a lot about PixIcon, for instance, and how that can be done better. It's like, because ideally, like, I wouldn't want to. I mean, if we look at I'm sorry, I'm talking in sentence fragments. If we look at the existing PixIcon mustache template, like, there are a few things that are problematic about it in my mind. One of which, not to say the least of which, is the fact that it's just an image tag. Like, it's like you build the image somewhere else and then you render it. It makes no sense. Like, if there's nothing on the thing to say that it's a PixIcon like this. Like, ideally, I'd like the example context. I don't know if you can see this as well, but like, instead of having attributes like this, where this may as well just be some other thing, like, instead of that, like, wouldn't it be good if you could just like say, like, I don't know, component Moodle name T icon, right? Like, if you could just do it that way, and then that it lessens it moves the onus for processing this stuff and displaying the right icon to the CSS parser on the client. Like, if you could do it that way instead of passing in raw attributes to this template. Otherwise, I don't know, this template just doesn't seem to mean that much to me, if that makes any sense.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it's really reassuring to hear that you're worrying about all these things.
It's a really big problem. I'm just glad Damien trusts me enough to deal with it. But we'll see how it all goes. With regards to multiple choice questions, yeah, I'm pretty good with the tables for now. I'm not really meant to be, like, one manning the templates. That's a really good way to end up in an unmaintainable heap of crap. But yeah, that would be a really good thing to kind of, because I'm really just trying to build things, and as I try to build things, gather requirements. The important thing is not that the things get finished. The important thing is that that I'm able to come back with a list of requirements for the rest of HQ. We're about to head in. Sorry, you were saying?
Well, I think it's about doing a set of examples that expose what all the problems are going to be.
Yes, that's very true.
The obvious one, because it's an important page, would likely be the forum discussion page.
Yeah. I think I've still been assigned. I was meant to convert the forum posts to renderers. It still has my name on it. It's still listed as development in progress. I feel very embarrassed about that, but it's actually kind of fortuitous that it's been delayed that long, because now we can talk about using templates. Yeah, it's that kind of like compositional thing where we're using lots of renderers, where it's renderers all the way down. Like, it's a good opportunity to identify like areas, like particular pain points. As I started to mention, we're about to head into a new sprint as of next week, and the rest of HQ is going to be doing a lot of work on learning plans, which I'm sure someone else can talk about. But towards the end of that sprint, I'll be coming back to the rest of the guys with a spec and like best practices doc and like maybe some examples. Maybe it'll be multiple choice questions, as you mentioned, and then the sprint that's after that'll have other HQ devs using those recommendations, and hopefully we'll be in a really good spot by the end of that sprint. No promises, of course, but should be good. I'll admit to not knowing that much about close, Nadav. I hear interesting things. I've done some tests like involving it, but to my mind, we have a lot of like WYSIWYG close issues in the tracker, A lot of which kind of seem to have fallen by the wayside. Like no one wants to add. No one wants. Yes, I know what it is. Sorry, that sounded a bit weird. But it feels to me that like if we have, it's a complex question type that contains other embedded questions. Am I right, Tim?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so like if you had templates for each question type, there's no reason as to why you couldn't like dynamically like instantiate those templates as they're typing, like kind of like the try mustache example. Just as they're typing a close thing, maybe you'll have like a live feed of the question that you're building instead of having to kind of picture it and hope that your braces are all correct. Like there's I mean, I said earlier in the presentation that I wasn't about to like hang a sign on this saying it's a panacea, it's going to solve all our problems, but I don't know. It seems like to be a good bit of potential there.
Someone did make, I think it was only for TinyMCE, not for Atto, but
yes.
Authoring the question.
Yes. I did see that.
If I was doing something, I wouldn't start with what close does. That was created back in the time of Moodle 1.1, and no one's really changed it since, other than keeping it working.
Yeah. For all that, though, just anecdotally, I have some of my friends. They maintain Moodle for institutions. There seems to be a lot of instructional support for it. People seem to like it a lot, like out there in the field. So that's probably something that we should improve the quality of life for.
Well, it lets teachers do flexible things if they want to work out how. We actually made our own question type called combined question type that does it in a more managed way.
Yeah, certainly. I just noticed Nadav asked about forms. Yes. I was kind of hoisting my own petard when I was being assigned this issue. I was talking about low-hanging fruit, like things where we can get the most bang for our buck by changing to templates. I think Damien wrote in the initial spec of the issue M forms with a smiley face next to it. So yeah, it's on the roadmap. It's definitely one of our priorities. I need to figure out how we're going to do it because I don't know. It's a bit ugly, isn't it? It'd be nice if it was if we can sort of maintain how it is. If we can maintain the functionality while letting people kind of spruce it up a bit with a bit more ease. I kind of wish this was. Actually, I don't know how this is going to be scheduled. Like the full templatization of Moodle. Yeah, that's the general idea, and that's probably what we'll do. I don't know how what the schedule looks like, how it particularly fits in the roadmap. All I can really say is that it's certainly my priority for the next few months. So, yeah. Any other questions? I'm really here for as long as you need me, until I get kicked out. Potentially. But the way that we generate markup for mobile, I'm sorry, the question for those of you who can't see the chat was, can it be generating different HTML markup for mobile? A lot of what we do on mobile, it's done using CSS media queries. So the emphasis there, yeah, as Matthew identified, yes, it's done through CSS. The emphasis there is simply on writing flexible enough markup that can be effectively transformed by the CSS. So I don't know that that's necessarily possible in Dev, but we are trying to pay a bit more attention to front-endy stuff and how we style our things. So yeah, very true. But I mean, the good thing, I think, is that with these templates, because of that separation between the business logic and the presentational layer, like if you're a themer and you've been frustrated in the past by like the way that we structure our markup, you're no longer going to be limited by like what particular markup structure HQ chooses to do. If you don't think it's good, like you could just write that one template for your theme, and just, yeah, like you won't be hamstrung by that. Yes, exactly. Another good. Wow. Okay. I should give you some sort of prize, Matthew, because that's definitely going on my slides for the Australian moods. Yes, yeah. Again, for those of you who didn't see the chat, yeah, Matthew identified that yes, custom changes to renderers will no longer be, because you no longer need to make those custom changes to the renderer. You don't need to worry about going off plan, going off the reservation, and having your stuff overwritten by the updates. Well, they only get overwritten if you were modifying core renderers instead of creating your own in custom themes. Now, admittedly, that's probably not a good best practice. Yes, please don't change core. But I want to tell a horror story now. I have a friend who maintains Moodle for a large e-learning conglomerate who shall remain unnamed, and they did a lot of core modifications, and they're stuck on their own custom Frankenstein version of 2. That's 2.0. So yes, we should be discouraging people from doing that kind of thing. Yeah, but in practice, people are going to take the path of least resistance, and I think if we can make the path of least resistance be something other than modifying core code, then that's probably a good thing. Any other questions? If anyone else wants to talk or actually... I hope that's given you a bit of an understanding about what's been happening. Yeah, I apologize for the kind of disjointed nature of it. I thought I had all the resources, and then it just kind of fell apart. But I'll be giving this presentation again, or a much better version of it, on Sunday night. It'd be like midnight Sunday night, Western Australian time. And hopefully that'll be the version they put in the archive. Yeah, and I'll try and cover things in a bit more of a logical manner with the examples right there for you. Yeah, if you have any questions about what's happening with the template library work and the templatization of Moodle, please comment on the issue MDL 50148. If you have any concerns of what's happening or things that we may have missed, we're always happy to take input from the community. Yeah. As far as components that are being templatized right now, I think I've done paging bar, I've done HTML table, or at least partially. I was going to get to flexible table next, but I think I'll take Tim's suggestion and do multiple choice questions next. Yeah, I hope it's going to make your lives easier, whether you're devs or themers or whatever. Yeah, if there's no more questions. Oh, Tim has a... Go Tim.
I'll just talk because I can't be bothered to type. When you start looking at questions, if you need some sort of signposts about how it all hangs together, excuse me, then feel free to, we can have a Google Hangout if you want to be talked through it.
Oh, certainly. I'd really appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, if oh, and I guess, yeah, if anyone has any other suggestions as to what modules to look at as examples and such. Thank you, Matthew. If any of you like suggestions for modules to maybe take a look at templatizing, if they possess interesting qualities or interesting challenges that you think might help to better serve us honing in on these template best practices, yeah, always happy to take suggestions. And I guess that's it. Unless anyone has any more questions, I'm happy to stick around. But other than that, I guess it's up to you, Shane.
Hey, Jetha. Yeah, no, I was just about to jump in and just to say thank you to you for that presentation. And yeah, it's certainly very good and put me on the path to look more into this as well. So, yeah, appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot.
And yeah, I'll probably be joining you at midnight on Sunday night as well. So we'll see.
Wow.
Which will work well for some of the guys in the US and that. So
of course. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you. And I guess I'll go. All right, I'll see you guys on the